Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And Act Two is a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter, especially during this trying time in Los Angeles. We want to be a support group for you all. The show must go on, as they say. I think the world of filmmaking continues on, as both Josh and I have found. I had meetings this week, which was bonkers.
Did you really?
I did, yeah.
I was supposed to have one and I just canceled. I was like, I'm good. And then one other person was like, hey, we're still meeting, right? And I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. I canceled all the meetings that I could cancel, but there are some that, like, oh, we're on a schedule, and if we miss that, then it's a lot of money. But it was bizarre because the meetings start with like, did you lose your house? When did you come home? How are you feeling? How are the kids and all the people that they know who've lost their homes? So it's a very surreal experience, but similar to COVID, I have found it feels very uniting. I don't know if you have felt this as well, but like in those meetings alone, it's like, I know we've all gone through a similar experience. And so it feels like we're bonded in some way.
Yeah, I like that feeling. I mean, I like, let me rewind. I like thinking that. I don't like getting to this feeling, but it is great that. I
prefer another feeling.
I will take every other feeling in the world except for this. But let me just apologize if there's like if my audio's not as good today. If I'm in a big room, I have a different headset on. I'm still in Huntington Beach, but we're doing it. The show must go on.
The show must go on. It actually, all of this got thinking about like doing this podcast again in the wake of everything that's happening with you, being in Huntington Beach still. I thought of this movie. I don't know if you know this movie, Sullivan's Travels, like this 1941 film by Preston Sturges. It's about this famous film director who's sick of making comedic movies, and he wants to do something serious. And everyone's like, you're not a serious director. Get the fuck out of here. So he quits his job and he goes undercover as this like everyday person. And he like mingles with the poor and the destitute and like prisoners. And he finds out that what matters to them most, ironically, is his movies. And they love his comedies. It helps them escape their troubles, if only for a little while. It gives them hope. It gives them inspiration. And like that, for some reason, that movie always stuck with me because sometimes I think, who the fuck cares about what we do? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a writer. I'm not saving lives. I'm not a first responder. Nobody's thanking me on CNN because I saved their home. But then I remember all the times I have felt like a movie or a TV show saved me. It, maybe gave me hope, or it inspired me, or made me see my life differently. Put meaning into something that I didn't understand. So I think even at its absolute worst, filmmaking, movies and TV, it makes us forget our troubles. Like that's the worst thing it can do, right? And that's pretty amazing. So I don't know, stories are designed to give meaning to what we experience in life. And I think we just have to remember that what we do is important and to keep plugging on. And that's why the show must go on. And I think this episode is really just about like how going back to normal as a screenwriter is the good work we have to do. And in times of crisis, it's really good to remember why we do the things that we do. That we write to reflect the world, to understand each other, to wrestle with trauma. So I don't know. That's my TED Talk.
No, I love that TED Talk. I mean, listen, movies and TV shows have saved me over the last few days. And for us, I think writing kind of puts us back into a normal state, which I think is completely necessary. And we said this on the last one. Everyone's saying this, but if you live outside of LA and you see the stuff, I mean, it was really, really bad. Like this was like a. And when I came back into LA the other day, there was definitely that. I mean, this is still very fresh. There's a feeling that things have something shifted, and like whether it be, and there's just like a sadness because so many people lost their house and people were gone and no one knew what was going on. So this is all to say, I think like getting back into habits, watching things like you were saying. I mean, I just watched a movie called Big Fat Liar with Frankie Muniz and Amanda Bynes from like the early 2000s. And it
Yeah.
was just like a perfect escape movie because my friend was like, I just watched it. And I was like, I guess I'm going to watch it. And it was just joy for like 90 straight minutes,
Yeah.
which is silly. I know how silly that sounds, but it's even those little things. I'm not watching like The Brutalist over here.
Yeah.
Can we just go over the last couple days real quick?
Please do. My mom said the last episode she could tell I was very stressed. So let's talk about what's happened since then.
Okay. So just to give some context, we evacuated. I evacuated a little earlier to a place, the Hyatt Regency in Huntington Beach, which has been the nicest people you could possibly imagine have been in the Hyatt Regency in Huntington Beach. I know this because I stayed in the Hyatt Regency, and I'm still here for like a week and a half. I mean, it felt like a lifetime there. So I came here, talked to you. Air quality was terrible. The fires were raging. No one really knew what was going on. You guys came here. We were together. We did our last podcast together here in this exact room I am currently in.
Yeah, it's super weird because like I joined you down there, which is like I really wanted to like be around someone that I knew, so that was really nice to be able to come down there. We were trying to get out anyways, as we were basically we were not as close to the fires as you, but like one popped up right near our house and it went fast. Because it was on that windy day, that the windiest day we had. And we're like, I'm out, because you could see the way the fires were happening that it was gonna basically like block us in so that we couldn't leave. And then I could see waiting until something really bad happened. And then suddenly you have insane traffic to try to get out and you're like blocked in. So I was like, I'm out. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see Josh. And it was crazy being there because like it's all the same people. It's people coming out with their dogs and their cats and like way too much luggage. And all the things that they treasure the most, and they're all haggard and unclean. And then you go to the Hyatt Regency is incredible because go up there and they're like, oh, are you evacuating from the fires? You say yes, and they're like, all your pet fees are waived, all your like resort fees are waived. I know they gave some people discounts on there, and I just like almost started crying. They was like that's how emotional it was, that just saying your resort fees are waived. I was like, oh my god. It's interesting, but like some of my favorite moments were getting to write with you, and because that's like it created a sense of normalcy, and like because the process of writing a movie is the same as watching it. Like you get to escape into wherever you are. And so it was just so nice to just sit in the cove, like their like lounge area. But also bizarre because when I went there one morning early in the evacuation, there's just so many LA people who were desperately like making calls to family, also like doing what we were doing, like working, like trying to like catch up on work, stuff that like maybe their bosses were not in LA and didn't understand, or like Paul, they were like, you got to work anyways. So I don't know, man. It was weird, but writing was the thing that like centered me.
It was great. I actually, if I take away one thing from this time that I really loved, it was sitting in the cove, writing, talking to you about the spec we're writing together, and watching you write it. And I'm like, can I help you? You're like, nope. I was like, I'm right here. And yeah, we just got writing done, and then it was crazy. We watched a Packer game together. That was fun.
We had a football day. That was so fun.
I sat in that one place from like 1 to 8, just crushing drinks. Anyway, yeah. So we're getting back to normal now. We have to do it because I think people, myself included, people are creatures of habits. You need to kind of get back into that rhythm because that's what kind of allows you to move forward. It's easy to sit. I know this because I do this and let your brain swirl and worry about things. And we have to do what we can to move forward.
Did you ever feel while you were in crisis in Huntington that writing was a burden? Like Because there were times, like, you're busy. You have a daughter and a wife, and like you're trying to balance all of those things, as well as all of your friends who are calling you, talking about having lost their home, which is just like an incredible emotional thing to have to hold. Was it hard for you to find writing time, or were you like, oh, thank God I have some free time, like I'm going to go just write a page or think about writing?
It's interesting. That's an interesting question because usually when I can't write, I get kind of wound up, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to do this. I just need to find time. I need to silence my phone. But this time around, I kind of consciously put it on the back burner in case, which did happen. If a friend called, just or someone was checking in or whatever, and if it didn't happen, it didn't happen. I didn't like. I wasn't upset about it or anything like that. I just was like, I'm gonna go take a phone call. Okay, I didn't get my writing in. Too bad. Which is I haven't done that really. I can't remember the last time I did that, but I didn't find it a burden. But when I couldn't do it, I wasn't too upset about it because I knew it was gonna be there. And honestly, we did our goals episode a few episodes back, and I've already like missed my writing dates and deadlines, which I will get back into, but like this 2 week period is just done. Like we chalked this up to a catastrophic event. I will say when I did sit down to write, it was great. Even when it was for 2 hours and I would get up early or whenever it was, or I'd sneak away, it was awesome. It was just like peace.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
That's how I felt about it too. It was like, if I can do it, great. But it was more like, it was a similar feeling to like, if I can step away to just like have a quiet moment to myself, instead of having a quiet moment to myself, I would step away to write. And it was like, if I can find those moments in my day, amazing. That's like a bonus. But if not, that's okay too. But I like looked forward to having a moment to myself, as it were. And I would just like find little moments here and there. And Paul had to work. So when he was working in the hotel room, I would just like go down to the cove.
Oh, it's the Cove, baby. The freaking Cove. I will say, should we just call our script the Cove and just like somehow incorporate the Cove into it? The day the Packers played,
Yeah.
I think I got a little writing done in the morning, and that was like the ultimate. I was like, you know what? I got the writing done. I got to watch my Packers collapse in the playoffs again. This is like peak Sunday for me.
It's just salt in the wound.
Yeah,
So how much writing did you get done at the hotel?
I think I got like 8 pages done.
Oh, that's really good.
It's a lot more than I thought. I
Yeah.
didn't, but I kept rereading the script that I was working on because I was like, don't disengage, don't like stay in it, and I would just kind of keep reading it, and then I'd write little notes down. I reread the script more than I've ever reread something,
Yeah.
only because my mind was just, you know how it is. I mean, we're looking at the wind app, fire app, the wind, whatever I can't even, the
Watch duty.
watch duty, Jesus. And we're looking at that, we're watching the news, and it was like, it was
Yeah.
really hard to kind of recalibrate.
Yeah. How do you feel about writing in this kind of week coming up where things are a bit more contained?
I feel much better. I mean, a big part for me is my daughter going back to school,
Yeah.
which that was her school up until last night at like 8:30 had no power and was in an evacuation zone. That takes, because now you're like, okay, well, wait a minute, what's going to happen now? What if the school doesn't open next week? Do we have to look for a new school? Is it too close to this area? All these different things. It's those little things that get you kind of back into the rhythm of normalcy and just, okay, she's going to go here. We have the time. It's things like that for me, at least. That'll take a big load off of
Mhm.
my back and my brain. And so to answer your question, I'm feeling good. I think I'm ready to dive back into things. And by the way, can I just say one more? I know we've been talking a long time about the fire and everything, but can I just say one more thing about the winds? Just to put this in perspective, I heard this on the news and we talked about this. Those winds, basically, and everyone was like, I've never seen winds like this, like ever. And to put in perspective, I think the winds were between like 75 to 80 miles per hour. And I heard that a category 1 hurricane is 70 miles per hour winds,
Mm.
which means we had like a hurricane of fire. Like instead of rain whipping around, this was like fire, just like, and I think that's what caused so much kind of craziness was this is like a tornado. Like these fires are like shooting, like it just, and the destruction that it caused doesn't make sense if you understand kind of like the layout of how things look in like California. It's just you're like the fight that neighborhood is gone. Like it just doesn't make sense. So that's because I'm bringing that up because the winds were so crazy that I will freak out if someone's like, "Hey, we're getting 70-mile-per-hour winds again." I probably will just pack my car and drive back down to Huntington Beach with
Yeah.
my head in the sand. Yeah, how are you feeling?
I feel like I have no choice but to start getting back to work in earnest this week. But we're going to be dealing with this for a long time because there's so many people who are displaced that it's not like, okay, in the past when we've had wildfires, like we've not been affected this much. Like I rarely know someone who said, "Oh, I know someone who lost a house," and now that those numbers are totally out of whack. But on top of that, like wildfires are like one and done. You don't think about it really anymore. But now, like the whole city is affected. There's so many, like the WGA, by the way, for those of you listening, is holding donations. Like you can fill out an intake form or they have a website where you can see like things that people who have been displaced are actually asking for. And so you can say, I will send you shoes this size, and then they will arrange to pick them up for you, or you can go in and pick them and drop them off. And then they also need volunteers to help organize all this because they're putting together like little packets and stuff. So like that stuff is going to be going on for a very long time. So like while I feel like this week is going back to work and things have to be normal because you have to put yourself in the headspace to be normal and deliver on your scripts, it's not normal. So I sort of don't know. I don't know what this week's going to look like trying to sit there and focus and work when all this is going on. I don't know how. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
It's crazy. Yeah, I think I don't want to put pressure on myself to like do really well this week. I think I will. Like normally my week is like stacked, right, with writing and meetings. I think I'm going to really try to do what we did in Huntington, which is, but maybe amplified a bit, but that like feel good about it when you sit down to write. It should relax you from all the other things that are going on, and try to like channel that as the feeling. And if I don't get the pages I need done today, I don't get the pages I need done today. And then, we'll deal with that when the deadline comes up.
Yeah, we'll deal with that. Again, this wasn't a normal fire. This wasn't a normal event. This has to be taken into consideration. If you're being hard on yourself as a writer, I mean, if you live in LA, even if you live outside of LA, you can't, it just wasn't normal. So it'll hopefully pass and we'll get back to our normal routines, but just don't be hard on yourself as someone who's hard on themselves.
Yeah, it's interesting because what people have been saying is that it feels a lot like grieving in Los Angeles, like this a similar feeling. And as we all know, grieving has many stages and it takes a while to get through. So yes, be kind to yourself. Do you think your writing is going to change at all because of this event? Like what you write about or how you think about writing or characters or...
Too early to say. We did have this one idea, which I thought we were like, we did it. We have a great new idea. That was like 8 p.m. at night. And then by like 6 in the morning the next day, you were like, this idea exists already. I was like, God damn it, Tasha.
Yeah.
Do you think your writing's going to change?
I don't know. It's a new experience with new things I've never felt or thought before. So presumably that will make its way into my writing somehow. Last thing I'll say is to those of you who are wondering what to do now with your submissions and meetings that maybe got canceled or whatever related to, I guess, furthering your career in this moment. Unfortunately, I think the answer is to give people in LA some time. For example, we have a deadline on something on one of my shows, and I hated myself, but I had to follow up with the studio to be like, hey, just checking in on this thing. And their response was, a lot of us have been affected by the fires. Please have patience. We'll deliver this to you when we can. And obviously, the only thing you can say is, of course. And I've been seeing people post about different writers who are reaching out a little bit tone deaf about what's going on or maybe not understanding what's going on. And they're reaching out to managers and producers to submit their scripts or to follow up on a script they've submitted. And we just want to say that now is not the time. I think give it a few weeks. If that manager or producer didn't have their house burned down directly, guaranteed that they know many people who have. There may be housing people who have. Maybe they too had to be evacuated, came back to find their kid's school is gone. There's a lot going on with people right now. And I think when you do your follow-up in a few weeks, be kind even then. Ask first, how are they doing before you get to the business of your email. And I know it sucks because there are important decisions that are affecting your life probably that are not being made because of these fires going on. But if you follow up now, I guarantee that you will leave a really bad taste in that person's mouth about you because they're 100 miles away from thinking about anything business related. So you won't get your answer anyway, and you'll leave this bad impression. So I think just give people space right now if you can. Yeah. Josh, anything else about writing during a crisis?
No, I think that's spot on. I get the need to want to check in, and I've also read this on like social media or whatever that people are just trying to find out what's going on with projects or this and this. But yeah, you just got to lay off. It's going to be a minute, maybe like a month. Honestly, like if it's like a spec or something that you sent to a manager or something to that extent, and even like in your scenario, right? It's just you have to be patient and just give people their own time. I just repeated everything you said.
True. It's all true though.
No, this is nuts, but I do think just finding just trying to just get back into the rhythm.
Will you do me a favor?
Sure.
Will you have a drink for me at Pete's tonight?
I will have a drink for you at Pete's, for you, Paul, and Indy.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. Look, one benefit of this whole disaster is we got to hang out with Amelia, and she got to meet our dog, Indy, and that was amazing.
Yeah, that was.
So there's silver lining here.
She's talked about Tasha's dog more than she's talked about like her family over the last 2 days. Oh, what's Indy doing? I don't know, sweetie.
I can text you updates on Indy if you want to convey that.
Oh, dude, she would love it. She would just love it. This is why you need an Indy feed. She would just love to keep up on it.
Oh, so cute. All right, quote of the day. An artist is a sort of emotional or spiritual historian. His role is to make you realize the doom and glory of knowing who you are and what you are. He has to tell because nobody else in the world can tell what it is like to be alive. James Baldwin. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram or on Twitter, and Blue Sky at Tasha 3.0.
I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter, or X, Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.